It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Fast-paced, white-knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs. Joe's Karting, the official title sponsor of the front stretch for yet another year. And we're going to bring you great racing news all year long.
Did you see what they did this week?
Joe's Karting?
Yes. Joe's Karting signed on with the Bade Racing Group.
Oh, no kidding. To sponsor them?
Yeah, they're going to be on a Shaley Bade sprint car, from what I understand.
Good. That's good to see that happening. We always love to see that when sponsors open up and start jumping into to more stuff. So it's good to see that. Unlike Nature's Bakery, Joe's Karting is going in the right direction.
And Shaley's a friend of our show, so we have her on a regular basis. So
coming up for today's show, we're going to take a lap around the headlines in NASCAR in turn number 1. Turns 2 and 3 will feature the Jenkins family between Jeff, Jim, and Ryan Jenkins. 3 generations of racers and a rising star in this sport with Ryan Jenkins. We'll talk to them about the whole thing. It's just kind of let's get to know like last year we did that Zeitner family one. That had some pretty good reception.
And we did the Jorgensens also, 3 generations of Jorgensens. So
kind of nice to do this and just see the lineage that is in the dirt racing family. And I think more than most sports, this is a 3, 4, and even 5 generation family sport. It's once it gets to that second generation and you're able to make it to the third, that's it for everyone after that. They're in the business. There's no going back.
And I mean, it's really is that. I mean, the Earnhardts are in their 4th generation, so.
Yeah. Then in turn number 4, we're going to try to get you an update of the Pick'ems contest. We made a big leap this week. Now we just have to finalize everything. So we'll get you up to date on what that big leap was and what that means for everybody getting ready for the Pick'ems contest. All right, turn number 1, let's take a lap around the headlines. NASCAR made a bunch of news this week. They announced that there is now a damaged car policy, that if your car is too severely damaged, they may not let you back out on the track. I love this.
Not a may not.
Yeah, right.
They will not let you back on the track. What I'm going to be interested to see, though, is are they going to be able to maybe work on it between segments? Because they say they're going to give them 15 minutes. Or was it 15 minutes?
5.
5 minutes.
5 minutes on pit road.
On pit road. Mm-hmm. Exception being mechanical. If the rear end breaks or the tranny breaks, they can go back to the garage and fix that and come back out. Mm-hmm. It's basically the body and what the car looks like. If they have to replace a body panel, whether it's a nose piece, the corner of a nose, a fender, whenever they take and they just duct tape a bunch of spare parts on it and whatnot and send them back on the track, that's going to be a no-no now.
Yeah. I think the idea behind this rule, you can always say first off is safety, because these guys will put themselves in harm's way to go back out there and pick up a couple of points. Now, between 40th and 36th, there is no point advantage. 36th to 40th, wherever you finish in that area, you get 1 point. So there is no advantage to going back out and running more laps. There's no advantage because it's costing you more money, so you're not making any more money on the track and all that fun stuff. So it's a safety thing with these guys being now forced. Nope, you're not going back out there. Your car is too severely damaged. You're finishing 38th. You're not even getting a chance to get to 37th, 36th, or even 35th.
Yeah.
But I think more than anything, this rule is designed to stop the debris caution.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of miscommunication and a little bit of confusion from a lot of people that were talking to me. They said, you know what, there's a lot of times that cars have been fixed in longer than 5 minutes and been able to be still competitive. Here's what NASCAR said. You're able to come down pit road and make changes to your car, make repairs to your car. You have a 5-minute window each time you come down pit road. So we've seen this time and time before where teams will come down pit road, guys will jump over the wall, they'll start working on the car, and then the crew chief says, get back out there because you're about to go a lap down. So he goes out and he comes around, and then they keep doing this. That's the same thing, except now, instead of the crew chief watching where the pace car's at and if they're going to go a lap down before they get off pit road, now the crew chief has a stopwatch that says, we're at 4:30, get off the pit road right now. He goes around, he's got a fresh 5 minutes to make the change.
Yeah, but now there's also a 15-second penalty on the pit stop if they're speeding on pit road. It used to be just tail end of the longest line, which, if you're 4 laps down, don't mean a whole lot anyway.
And they also said, too many men over the wall, your day's done.
Yep.
So if you make major damage to your car and you're doing that too many men over the wall deal to try to get it fixed in the time allotted, you're no longer going back out there. This is going to be big for a lot of guys because it's going to hurt when it comes to some races. There's going to be some big driver. There's going to be a top 10 guy that's going to get caught with this one day. But in the end, I think what we're going to see is a lot less of these debris cautions where there's sheet metal that all of a sudden falls off the car, or a cooling duct hose, or a brake pad, or these little things that when you're out there pushing the limits of physics and these things start falling off, that's going to happen a lot less with this rule, because NASCAR is now going to say, if you can't fix it in 5 minutes or continuously keep coming back out and making repairs to where we think you're good to go and you can reach a minimum race speed, or if you got to go behind the wall to the pit garage, your day's done. You're not gonna spend a bunch of money repairing the car. There's no longer going to be these big crash carts. It's made things a lot easier for these drivers. And I also want to point out, this was a driver council thing. The driver
sure
council.
it was.
I keep saying it. I said it a ton of times last year. We're in a time of NASCAR that there is serious cooperation between the sanctioning body, the owners, the drivers, and the fans.
Well, everybody
and the
with a stake in
sponsors.
it. Everybody with a stake in it. But they're making all the changes in the off season, and they're just procedure changes. That's like saying we're going to change the green flag to orange.
Yeah.
It's not costing the teams a dime.
Absolutely.
And
some of these changes are going to save some the theory is they're going to save some money, but let's face it, if NASCAR finds a way to save Hendrick Motorsports and every other team $4.5 million in the season,
they're going to spend it somewhere else, R&D or something.
That doesn't mean that Hendrick Motorsports all of a sudden going to have $4.5 million available. They're going to find somewhere else to put the money, but this is a way that NASCAR is trying to help out. And these are big things that help out the smaller teams, the 20th through 40th cars.
Absolutely.
That are struggling to get to the track every weekend, that don't have the money for the most fancy things.
Your couple teams don't have charters.
Right.
There's a few more of those now. So
another big story that hit. This actually happened during media days. That the rumblings began happening that Danica Patrick was having sponsorship issues with Nature's Bakery, who was in the midst of a 3-year contract with Stewart-Haas Racing as primary sponsor for Patrick and the number 10 car. She showed up to media days in a pure white, looked like a sport compact driver's fire suit, and it had the Tax Act was one of her other sponsors, and so it just had Tax Act on her shirt. And Nature's Bakery is supposed to be the primary sponsor. So then it comes out about a week later that Stewart-Haas Racing has filed a $31 million breach of contract lawsuit against Nature's Bakery, accusing them of, again, breach of contract and underpaying their contract that they agreed to. It was a 3-year, $31 million contract. They finished a year of it. Halfway through the contract, they already asked Stewart-Haas Racing to readjust their payment plan. To restructure the payment plan. Stewart-Haas Racing agreed, and we find out through these court documents that Stewart-Haas, when they were sitting down in these negotiations, several times kind of said, "Are you sure you guys are able to do this? This is a big deal." And they said, "Don't worry, we've got the capital, we've got the funds, we've got the cash. Don't worry about it. The flow's coming in." And then 6 months into a 3-year contract, they said, "Hey, we need to refinance.
Yeah.
we need to refi." And eventually they weren't making payments. They sent a notice to Stewart-Haas Racing in December that they were unhappy with some of Danica's endorsement deals and some of her exposures and her Twitter handle and her stuff here on social media and some of this, and they weren't happy. And Stewart-Haas Racing said, "Come on, guys. You're broke and you're finding a reason why." And so now there's going to be this little court battle going back and forth.
Well, but let's look at the court battle now. They're suing for, they couldn't make they were paying them like $1.5 million a month or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They can't pay us that, but we'll get $31 million out of them.
Well, when you take it to court, though, and if you win, then you can get $31 million through assets. I mean,
if they have it,
they could force them to liquidate their assets, or this could just be hey, you owed us $31 million. We're going to sue you for that. But if you come back to us and say, let's forget all of this for $15 million, then maybe that's the deal. There's always these plays. Let's see. Also, some of the other news stories that we posted on our Facebook page. You can see a video thanking Chili Bowl fans and race supporters from Clausen Marshall Racing, who is the collaboration of the team that Brian Clausen used to race for, and his father now. Sprint Series in Nebraska will be racing on June 13th, along with the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars at Eagle Raceway. So
midweek race, like a Tuesday night or something, or Wednesday night?
It's a Tuesday race. So the Sprint Series in Nebraska, the Race Saver 305 is added to that bill. And then Daytona announced their stage lengths. First stage length will be 60 laps. Second stage length, also 60 laps. At that point, at the conclusion of the second stage, it could be considered a full race. Now, before, they had to complete at least half the race. That's going to be 120 of the
200.
Yes, so it'll be slightly over halfway, but NASCAR feels that stage 1, stage 2, after stage 2 is a good point to call it a official race. So if Mother Nature intervenes and rains and we have to call the race, then after stage 2 is when that can be called and they could be an official race.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see that become the policy instead of halfway, because they were talking about 30%, which is what they've done here, 60 laps. And to see that now considered, not exactly halfway, but the rain point, that might be a season-long thing. And then that's going to make the last segment 80 laps.
As we wrap up turn number 1, the last thing you can find on our Facebook page, make sure you head over and like us, The Front Stretch. There's a great article that Channel 6 did on
Glenn Roby, a week after we talked about bringing him back on the show.
I know. We're always
Who leaked that?
A day late
Did
and
you
a dollar
leak
short.
that,
I
Dan?
called him. I said, go do this story. Anyways, Alpine Inn, if you haven't been to it yet, it's so much fun. I took my nieces and nephews there. And also, it's important to know that they don't accept debit or credit cards.
Yeah,
it's cash only, cash or check only. But get over there, and it's good roasted chicken. It's delicious. My nieces and nephews absolutely loved it, and the part they loved about it was watching the raccoons and the cats eat the scraps when they would toss it out. It's a lot of fun to go and check out, so make sure you do that. Alpine Inn, go over to the Front Stretch Facebook page. There's a great video posted by WOWT Channel 6 here locally in Omaha that talks about Glenn Roby and how much he does with it. They don't talk a lot about his racing. They reference it here and there a little bit, but not too much. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back in turns 2 and 3. We'll sit down with the Jenkins family. Jeff, Jim, and Ryan set to get on the front stretch.
And not in that order.
No, not in that order.
Jim, Jeff, and Ryan.
There you go. Thank you. And set to talk about everything that's going on with them in their racing career, their history of being racers, and what's going on with Ryan. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Heading into turn number 2, brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs. Dirk, we are just 14 days away from the Daytona 500. We are less than a week away from cars on track for competition. That's 6 days away. You can catch all the great specials for the Daytona 500 at Quaker Steak and Lube. It's my favorite. I cannot talk about how much I love it. Compact bucket of wings and a lube tube of your favorite domestic beer, $27.95. You don't really need anything else.
Well, unless you don't drink beer.
Okay,
then you
that's
do
true.
Need something
that's
else,
true.
And you can get the bigger bucket of wings.
Yes, you can get a full bucket of wings for $13. $2 off of a full bucket of wings, or you can just get a domestic lube tube for $13. You might as well get the food and the beer together, and then, you know what, Dirk? You buy that. I'll drink the beer for you.
Oh, so I should just invite a friend.
Yeah. Do you have those?
Yes, I do.
I'm right here. I'll take an Angry Orchard. Thank you very much. We will be there February 26th for the Daytona 500 viewing party. Make sure to get out there. Awesome prizes. We'll be signing up for the pickups contest, which we're going to get you some more rules coming up in turn number 4.
Usually have a couple cash pools going on.
There will be a $100 chance at guessing the winner, but you have to get there early because that book fills up fast. So make sure you get there early. Your chance to win $100 cash from Quaker Steak and Lube. Your chance at winning great autographed prizes from the front stretch. The Daytona 500 viewing party. It's going to be fun, February 26th. And thanks a lot to Quaker Steak and Lube for allowing us to come down and do our shenanigans. Joining us in the studio, the 3 generations of Jenkins family members that have all been in the racing community, starting off with Jim, then Jeff, and now Ryan, current racer. Gentlemen, how you guys doing tonight?
Good. Great.
We appreciate everybody joining us. Jim, you're known as the Snap-on man. How long did you sell Snap-on tools?
38 years.
Okay.
We worked with Snap-on.
And I always love seeing these memes going around Facebook about, here comes the Snap-on man, there goes my paycheck. Were you just a great salesman, or did it kind of come as they just threw their money at you?
No, they didn't throw the money at us. That doesn't happen in sales.
When you buy tools, you get what you pay for. You cannot go out and buy a cheap tool and make a living with it. So you buy good tools. Snap-on had great finance programs, and he was there every week. If you had to replace something, he usually had it on the truck. So,
did you have a go-to tool?
A what?
A go-to tool? Anything you could walk into a shop and sell it to everybody?
Well, it depended on what shop you went into. They had special tools for different shops.
My dad was a bit of a tightwad, so the Snap-on man never was able to get anything out of him, and he'd always tell me, I'd always want to buy crescent wrenches, and he's like, no, that's the worst thing for getting bolts off, because you just end up stripping them. You got to get the right wrench.
If you showed up every week with the Snap-on, they started buying Snap-on.
Yeah. And you 32 years, 38 years?
38.
Wow. And you had your own truck and everything?
Yep, several of them.
Wow. And you had a fleet.
No, well, I started with an old $1,600 truck, and when I first started, and traded that one in and get a better one.
Jeff, did you ever sell Snap-on tools?
No.
You never got to?
No.
Or you never had to?
No.
Did
Never
you ever
wanted to.
Did you ever go out on sales with him?
Sure, when there's nobody else to watch me.
Yeah. My dad used to haul propane during the wintertime, and so the number of times I got to go with him, that was you get to go with me. And I'm like, but it's cold. I want to stay home. I want to play video games. He's like, no, you get to go haul propane with me. So did you get to go with him?
sometimes.
Sometimes, I guess.
Yeah. Did you have fun with it, though? I mean, you kind of watch your dad? And...
It's a one-seater truck, so I had to hold on to stuff. It probably wasn't legal as in there.
Well, there was a lot of things that were more legal back then than they are now. Ryan, what about you? Did you ever get to? Was he still selling when you were like?
Yeah.
I say a little kid. You're 16, 17, right?
Yeah, I'm 17. I
Okay.
think he retired when I was 12 or 13, but
Okay. Did you ever go out with him?
no.
No.
Uh-uh.
What do you do now, Jeff?
Own my own auto repair shop.
Okay. Did you ever buy tools from him when you?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Was there ever an option to go anywhere else?
For in the tool business?
Yeah.
No. He didn't want me to go that route.
He probably got a discount.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did he ever give you a discount?
Yeah.
Because-
Now I got to pay full price.
Oh yeah. See, and my sister is a travel agent, and I got the family discount, which was plus 20%. So that didn't work out very well for me whenever I go on vacations places. But all right, so started off as a Snap-on man. Is that kind of how you funded your race team, and how did you get exposed into racing?
Well, I always watched racing, even back in high school days. And I started Snap-on and worked 4 or 5 years and made a little bit of money and decided to buy a race car.
Why?
Why? Because I enjoyed that sport.
How many times after that did you ask yourself, why? Why did I do this?
It all depends the way the weekend went.
Yeah.
Only on Monday morning.
Yeah. Must have been kind of nice, though, being a Snap-on guy. You had plenty of tools around to be able to work on. Did you ever have to buy any tools, or did you just go out to the truck, kind of borrow them?
I borrowed them,
Yeah.
and I wiped them off and put them
Right.
back in the truck.
And then tell people this has character. This fixed a race car.
There you go.
You know it works. It works well because it tightened that
I can
916.
guarantee that,
Yeah,
yeah.
there you go. What did you race?
What did I race?
Yeah.
Well, the best car we had was a Camaro.
Okay.
So it was.
So you had an old Camaro. And Dirk, you were telling that somebody you talked to Thursday when you had some lunch with him that he had one of Jim's old cars.
Yeah, he had Jim had raced and had quite a bit of success with a stock stub Clayton Peterson chassis. Clayton was out of Grand Island and did a lot of chassis work. And
Bought it
Rick
from
Holling,
Rob Taylor.
huh?
I bought it from Rob
You
Taylor.
bought it from Rob? Okay, yeah. Because Rob, him and who else was from Fremont? There was a couple guys that had those Clayton Peterson cars. Don Steiskell in the Harry's Performance car was a Peterson car, I remember.
Okay.
Bill Martin ran it for a while, too. Well, and Rick Holling and I bought that Peterson car that we ran there for, I think we started in 80. And with a Peterson Superfly and ran for a couple years. We didn't have a stock stub car. We had the tube stub. But so I was real familiar, and I knew what car you had. And Dan had said, yeah, he goes, I had that car because I told him who we were doing. Dan used to race and said, yeah, I bought that car from Randy Sterner. He goes, I don't know if Randy got it straight from Jim or what, but Jim had won the Sunset Invitational with it. And that was like 81 or 82, somewhere around there.
Probably 80, 81.
Oh, so
like
that was
that.
even before me.
A lot of things happened before you, Dan. A lot of things.
Nothing important, though. Do you ever think back to some of those old cars you used to have and what happened to them and if you could ever get a hold of them?
Oh, yes.
Do they come across your radar every once in a while? We were kind of talking before you went on the
Not
air.
really. I'm retired now, so I would enjoy rebuilding one again.
Mm-hmm.
But that Camaro would be the one I would like to get my
Yeah.
hands on.
And tracks you raced at, obviously Sunset was a big one. Did you race Playland?
No, we started off in Harlan and Corning and Sunset.
Mm-hmm.
So we did.
And I know you used to do a little bit of traveling. I remember at least once, because there was just one time I was clear down to I-70 when you ran down there.
Oh, boy, yes. That's pretty fast down that track.
Is there a story behind that?
Well, a little bit of story,
Let's
yeah.
hear it. It's storytelling time.
Well, I was trying to make the feature, of course, and I got a little bit close to the back wall, and next thing I was on the wall, and next thing I was over the wall.
Oh, jeez.
And then there was a pickup truck parked a little bit too close to the track, and we sort of stopped when we hit that pickup truck.
Oh, jeez.
Well, they'd taken I-70 Speedway was a very fast, basically a half-mile asphalt track. It was a big bowl, real banked, and
Kind of like Eagle, more banked, less banked?
bigger than Eagle, but yeah, that kind of bank.
Okay.
And the Weld family bought it, and Welds were modified racers then when sprint cars were coming in, and they covered it with dirt. So the back wall was, 16 inches
Right,
maybe?
it wasn't too high.
It wasn't very, but it was still
Wasn't high enough to keep you
Right.
in.
but it was the concrete wall.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you got your tire over it, you were over the back, and then it was anything, because the cars came right up to the track to park.
Okay.
That part wasn't good, but the track was always a nice facility, and
It was fast.
and then they ended up, was it early 90s? They went back to asphalt. They scraped all the dirt off and ran, and Larry Phillips had a lot of luck down there. He won some national titles there.
The Purple Ford. Can't think of his name right now. He has passed away. He has raced NASCAR. I'll think about it.
Yeah, I'm not ringing a bell on there, but again, for down there in that area. But Kenny Schrader used to come over there and race when it was dirt. I don't know if he ever raced any asphalt there, but they used to run ASA races. The Truck Series ran a race there in like 95 or 96.
Oh, wow.
So, there was a lot of racing there.
Jeff, how much were you involved with your dad's race team?
Oh, I was pretty young. I remember that I-70 deal because the next morning he gave me a pair of wire cutters because he went through a chain link fence and he says, "You got to cut all this wire off this wheel."
Were you down there that day? Or
Yeah, I was. We were sitting in the stands out there.
Okay. That's got to be kind of frightening. How old were you when that happened?
Oh, I was probably 7 or 8. I was pretty young.
So not really old enough to kind of know
No,
what was going on, but
No.
scary.
What was that, about 83 or 84, somewhere around there?
Oh, I would say it was earlier than that. I think I stopped racing by 82.
Oh, okay.
So that's probably might have been late
81 season maybe, or late 80 season?
81 or 79. Even.
What was the reason for giving up the racing?
Oh, time and money and
Jeff wouldn't cut the wire out of that wheel.
No. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a full-time job,
Yeah.
Yes,
especially
it
to
is.
run 3 nights a week.
Yes.
Championships? Were you able to
No,
win
never
anything?
had, did win a couple A features once in
Okay.
a while, but
Okay.
no championships.
It's more than some.
Well, you won that Sunset Invitational that year. Back then, that was a real prestigious race.
That was my best deal, I guess.
Yeah.
And did you ever run anything other than the sportsman class, the 2-barrel no quick change classes?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think it. Dan thought you'd gone to late model racing
Well, we
after
had a
that.
quick change in that one car, didn't we?
You ran late model.
But maybe only one season. We didn't do very.
You broke your wrist at Sunset, and then
That's right.
Randy Sterner drove it for a while.
Okay.
I remember that.
Yep, Randy and helped me quite a bit, and another from my small town, Jim Jessen, he helped us quite a bit. And
So
Jeff.
the decision to kind of hang the steering wheel up was just kind of enough of the hustle and bustle. It was just too much work for you. Was there ever an opportunity for you to come back and race, and you were really tempted to just say, okay, maybe I'll come back and race for another year?
No, I don't think so.
No?
No.
It's always fun for me to talk to these guys that decide to retire, and how many opportunities come up just a month, 2 months down the road.
No, I think when Jeff got a ride, and then I helped quite a bit in that deal. I helped Bill Layton a lot, too.
Okay.
So I did. That was my fix right there with racing.
All right.
So I did.
Well, Jeff, talk about your time in racing. When did you get started?
I was probably 22 when I got started. Wally Wilson gave me an opportunity. I had no money to put into it, and he said, every hour I work on the race car, I get an hour on the racetrack. That's basically how it works. So I spent a lot of time at the race working on a race car.
And let me back up just a little bit here, Jim. What age did you start racing at?
Well, I think I was around 32, 33.
Okay.
And yeah, I was.
Okay. Was it common back then? Because there's a lot of young drivers like Ryan and the guys who race the sport compacts. You know, they're 16. I think is 16 the minimum. You can get into 14 for some classes, right?
Well, back then, basically, if your parents said you could go race the car, you could race it. You know, there was no sanctioning bodies or anything, or big sanctioning, national sanctioning bodies.
Okay.
But and I don't think there was near the paperwork. If you showed up with a race car and had a helmet and could see over the steering wheel, I think they pretty much let you race it.
That's still a problem for some grown men, being able to see over the steering wheel.
But, you know, you're talking about the way some of these kids start now. Well, I think when Wally, I know, had done some Corvette racing.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think Wally probably had to be 50 when he got behind the wheel of a stock car the first time.
Yeah.
Or there. I mean, I still see his son Dave all the time.
Yeah.
And, I can remember when Wally started racing there in the mid-'90s. You know, you were in the early 90s, weren't you, when you got started, maybe 92, something around there?
Yeah, probably right in there. Maybe a little bit later.
Because I know I'd been teching for a couple years, and Rick and I started teching in '89 together, and we'd been around a couple years before you came out.
Yeah.
And Wally and Dave and Bill Layton in Wally's car, and then the limited late model with Wally's car that Billy was driving, and
And what did you start racing in, Jeff?
I was racing the Pro-Am class.
Okay. And is that what you raced pretty much all your career like your dad did, just one class, or did you kind of bounce around?
No, just the one class, and then probably the last 2 years, we got a Grand National. Mm-hmm. And that didn't last very long. That was I starting to lose interest.
Okay. So you lost interest in actually being a driver then?
Yeah, I bought a business. Ryan came around, and just other priorities in life took over.
Yeah. And so when Ryan had the opportunity to go back to racing, was it kind of a fun experience for both of you to be like, okay, we can kind of get back into this a little bit more? Or was it more of, oh, man, we got to get back into this?
Seriously? He wants to race? Are you serious?
No, that deal. Ed Kazuski came up, and he was having the first turkey chase. Mm-hmm. And he was renting go-karts at the time.
And this is when Ryan got started?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I talked to my wife about it, and we went down to Bob and Grace's house and got them all fitted for this go-kart. Well, we went up to the turkey chase that night, and nothing's very organized going on. Well, couldn't find Ed, couldn't find the go-kart. Terry Hurt happened to be there with his kid racing a go-kart, and I'd known Terry through business, and Terry said, well, looked at me, we're racing different classes, let's just put them in mine. I looked at Terry's kid, and I looked at Ryan, I said, there's a pretty big height difference there. Well, we shoved everything we could underneath the seat and in the back, and Ryan went out and ran his first feature.
And what year was it? How old was Ryan?
I was 6, so that was 2006.
Okay. The whole getting back involved in it, how much did you have to talk to your wife about letting Ryan do this?
Not very much.
She was pretty supportive of it?
Yeah. I mean, the next day we talked about getting a go-kart and the expense of racing, and she kind of already knew that. Mm-hmm. But she knows it's a good family sport. Yeah. I mean, that's just, And the cage kart racing, which he got involved in my opinion, is a lot safer than a flat kart deal. So
just like it's described, you've got a halo.
You got a halo, and you are strapped in.
Yeah.
And as the years progress, we put a full containment seat in this cart. Mm-hmm. People, why are you running that? And I said, because it's my kid in the car.
Yeah, right.
I only got one.
Yeah.
I want to keep it.
Let's take a quick break. We'll catch our breath. We'll come back at turn number 3, and we'll talk with Ryan about getting into racing and how his 2016 went, plans for 2017. We'll talk more with Jeff and Jim. The Jenkins family feature here on the Front Stretch. We'll be back.
There is no such thing as an off-season at Joe's Karting. No matter how cold it is outside or how much snow is on the ground, you'll always be warm and dry inside at Joe's Karting, the Metro's largest indoor karting track. Located in Council Bluffs on 23rd Avenue next to AMC Theater. Find Joe's Karting on Facebook or head to joeskarting.com for hours, pricing, and a schedule of booked parties. That's joeskarting.com. Karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's Karting today and find out what all your friends already know.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the Front Stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the Front Stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch, rolling into turn number 3, continuing our conversation with 3 generations of racers, the Jenkins family. Started off with the Snap-on man, Jim, and moving on to Jeff. You guys never raced together at all, did you? No, Jim and Jeff, no, you get quite a few years between you two, and obviously you'd retired, and then Ryan, so you guys never got to race against each other.
No.
Do you think you would ever have a problem racing with each other? Because I love talking to family members that race against each other. The Zeitners last year were the best, because when I asked that question, you could tell there was still some hurt feelings in the room. And stuff still hadn't quite been squashed. We're talking with Ryan Jenkins now for this turn, in turn number 3. And Ryan, talk about your first experience in the car. Do you remember that first time at the Turkey Chase when you raced your go-kart?
No, I don't remember nothing. Hardly.
That's probably the first time I remember, because people tell me, I don't know how you drivers do it, but you remember every detail about corners. And I can have some guys come in on the Legends show that we did during the off season and talk about somebody that rubbed them in turn 2 because they were a groove too high from a race 35 years ago. And I'm like,
with 3 laps to go, and they were running 4th and 5th.
It's insane, the details that people can remember. But what's some of the first races you do actually remember?
I don't know. I hardly remember anything. I can't remember.
Did they kind of just blend together? Because, I mean, you've been racing for, 10 years now?
Yeah, last year was my 10th year, and I don't remember anything up until probably when I started winning races in, 2009.
Was that just something that you finally grew into the kart, or you were kind of getting more comfortable with being a driver?
I think I just figured out what to do. I started watching other stuff and watching what to do, and I think we got 9 or 10 wins that year, and then we struggled a little bit, and then we got into a bigger class, more of an adult class, and I was only 12. And that's when I really started watching guys, and then I started watching how smooth you got to be, and then we won our track championship, and all those adults weren't very happy. And
Did you win that down at Little Sunset or down at Little Eagle?
It was at Little Sunset. I think it was the year that Eagle opened, but Little Sunset was getting 20 carts a night in that adult class. So.
And that's got to be kind of intimidating to be a 12-year-old kid and you're out there racing against full-grown adults.
Not really. I mean, it doesn't bother me at all.
Really?
No.
I guess I'm just an intimidating guy.
Cart's the same size.
Yeah, that's true. Did you ever have any problems with him? Because I know that sometimes these guys like to rough up the little kids and kind of scare them. Did you ever have any problems with any guys?
You usually don't see any problems with anybody until you start winning races, because when you start getting underneath people and they don't leave you very much room and you have to work your way around them, that's when you start seeing problems. I think nothing too bad, I guess.
How much work goes into a go-kart? Are these things pretty stock and it's all down to the driver, or are there actual some setups that you have to work on?
They're really precise.
Really?
It's all down to the last 1/8 of an inch, 16th of an inch. There's no springs or shocks, so you're riding on a solid axle. I don't know. It's all in the way. I let him do everything, but I still race a go-kart in Lincoln on New Year's and Thanksgiving weekend, so I still know.
You still race the Turkey Chase?
Yeah.
And what's the other one? The one that Jody Krug runs? The
New Year, I don't know. It's kart shootout.
Nebraska Kart Shootout, something like that. Yeah. So you still go back and race that?
Yeah, I didn't race the New Year's race this year, but I raced the Turkey Chase, and those guys, they don't like me coming back down and racing those go-karts.
Is it more they don't like you coming down and racing, or that they don't like you beating them?
Kind of both.
Yeah.
I think the term cherry picking kind of comes out.
So Jeff, you're kind of the setup man. You're the crew chief.
Yeah.
And has that followed on into him racing the B mod?
Yeah.
And you set that stuff up. How much, Ryan, do you jump into the setups and helping your dad with that and understanding it, or is that something that's your realm? I'm going to focus on driving.
I've kind of figured out the shocks and everything. He's way better at scaling than me, but the shocks and the bar angles, and I've kind of played with that myself, and I've probably know it better than him, but the scaling, I don't have anything knowledge on that, so I let him do that.
He's one of the guys that he don't look at the pictures in the magazines. He reads the article, and he knows shocks, and he wants to try stuff with bar angles, and I just shake my head and go, okay, let's do it.
You might as well try it and see what happens.
Yeah. But he really studies this stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
are you interested in the engineering side of it?
Yeah, that's what I kind of want to go into. I wanted to start a chassis business. I'm in my 5th or 6th semester of CAD design at school.
Okay.
Right now, so I'm getting familiar with that side of stuff, and I don't know. I just kind of like that kind of stuff, I guess.
Dad, Grandpa, did you know he wants to start a chassis business?
Yeah, I've told him about that. I keep talking. Let's get through the college phase first, and then.
Well, the college phase may get a lot easier with you winning that UNOH scholarship. I mean, was that 10,000 cash or was that 10,000 scholarship?
It was scholarship. I think the tracks are $500 cash and $500 scholarship.
Yeah.
Though, so.
And so then you won that cash and scholarship, and then with winning the national for the NASCAR national, you won the scholarship to UNOH.
Yeah, I think it was like we have right now to that call UNOH is $12,000, which isn't bad.
Well, when you're talking about interest rates for student loans, that's a good chunk of change that you're saving your money on. You went from the karts. Did you go right into the B mods, or did you race anything else between there?
I went right into the B mods.
Okay.
I wasn't really good at the B mods because I didn't really understand anything. I was kind of confused on like the setup stuff and stuff. I didn't get any of that. And once I really sat down, and I think it was like the winter of 2014 when we got a new car, and I kind of figured everything out. And once I got on the track, I could really understand what the car was doing, so it helped me a lot as a driver.
Okay.
To know the setup stuff.
And you started racing B mods in 14, right? Or was it 13?
We started at right at the Cornhusker in 13. So.
Okay. Just went out and kind of tested it or tried it out for a little bit, and then raced full season in 13. And then it was in 14 when you first started finally understand. Well, I guess it was the winter of 14 when you started to understand, is what you were saying.
Yeah.
How frustrating was it that you're not able to win, you're not very competitive, and it's just so much to learn at once?
Well, it wasn't very frustrating back then, but once I got my first win, it was frustrating not winning at all.
After you got your first win?
Yeah. I wanted to win every single race.
Yeah.
And it still is.
I know. I've talked to you in the pits after missing a race, and I'm like, dude, you've got a 70-point lead in the standings. You finished third. Let's kind of like,
You'd rather have him like that than him sitting there going, "Oh, it was a great night."
Yeah, yeah. It is kind of funny because there's definitely total different types of people in those pits, because it ranges from I'm just happy to be out here. I don't care if I'm running in the back. I'm having fun, to the guys that if they didn't beat the field by a second, they're mad because they didn't do good enough. And is that kind of where you're at? You've got to whoop them to feel good.
Yeah, I've gotten really competitive, and I don't know. I like winning. If I'm finished second, knowing that I could have won, I'm mad. But if I finished like fifth, knowing that I didn't have a car to win, I'd be more or less frustrated than finishing second.
Who do you go to in the pits for advices on B mods? I mean, like you did, your dad's kind of sets that up. You got your grandpa to help you out a little bit too. But is there a driver that you talk to a lot to kind of help you with driving style?
Not really. I mean, there's guys who will come up and give me tips when they see I'm doing something wring. And
how receptive are you to that? Because anything in my life, whenever somebody comes up to me and gives me advice on how to do something, I don't know why, but I instantly get offended.
Well, I think you got to look at who the advice is coming from. Is this guy a 6-time track champion? Maybe I should listen. Did I just beat this guy 5 weeks in a row? Maybe I shouldn't listen.
Yeah.
You know.
So are you good at accepting other advice, or do you kind of look at them going, yeah? Just go back to your car.
Yeah, I think Bill Layton Jr. has helped me out a lot since we pit next to him, and he watches me, and if I'm doing something wrong, he'll let me know, and he'll let me try something.
You and Jacob Hobscheit are pretty good friends, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys kind of go around with each other, and are you kind of a de facto team to where, there's not really a money exchange with the organization, but you guys are kind of...
Not really. We don't let the racing part get involved. We're pretty competitive too.
Yeah.
Don't get into setups too much.
Yeah.
You don't do his shocks?
No.
Would you if he asked?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, because I kind of wonder, because, you've had a lot of success, and he's been really close at I-80 a couple of times to get in the win, but just has missed it. Have you ever been able to go over to him and say, try this? Or do you not, because now you've got the risk of him being able to beat you?
Well, he was struggling all year. I think they got a new car, and then they're struggling with ignition problems and stuff. This stuff that was out of his hands, and then he junked it at Park Jefferson on a weird wreck deal, and then he had his old car back out, and he just couldn't find something. So it was just out of his hands pretty much.
Okay. Your 2016 year in the B mods at I-80 and at Harlan, right?
Corning.
Sorry about that, because it's a NASCAR track. Duh. Stellar year. I was actually surprised getting ready for the award ceremony that you actually didn't have that many NASCAR feature wins at I-80. I think you had 3. Maybe 4?
Yeah, I think 4.
Yeah, I kind of...
5.
Was it 5?
5 at each track, yeah.
Okay, see, I thought it was... you had a 100-point lead by the end of the year. I kind of figured you'd had 7, 8 wins on the year, but it was more about consistency, that if you didn't win the race, you were still able to finish pretty close to the front.
Yeah. And the thing is that is that the B mod class is one of the most competitive classes, like
Absolutely.
at I-80, because you had guys like Josh Most and Josh Sink, and then all those guys, and they're all good drivers, and it's hard to win. It's in that class, it's really hard to win when you're racing with the best of the best, and you got to start like back in 10th every night.
Yeah.
Too.
And the B mod class, I don't mean to talk bad about it. It is a thick class. There's a difference between last and first, a big difference.
Yeah.
These are the guys that are running in the back that are still learning the cars. And it could probably be frustrating at times when you're out there wanting to get these last 3 laps done, but somebody keeps having a Lone Ranger spin or there keeps being accidents, and the cautions in the B mods can stack up pretty quickly. How frustrating is that behind the wheel?
Well, sometimes it can help you, but
True.
sometimes it hurts you.
That's very true. I think one weekend you came back from getting a tire change and you were able to get back up and really compete for the win because of all the cautions, stacking everybody back up.
Yeah, I think one night I did terrible in the heat race, like dead last. I don't know what I was doing. And then I started 22nd in the feature, and I think I got the lead in like 10 laps. It's just staying out of trouble and stuff and working your way through.
Do you videotape your races to be able to go back and watch them later and kind of see what you were doing?
No, but there's a couple other people in the crowd that do. I can watch. But
Okay, so you do go back on like Facebook videos or YouTube and watch your lines and kind of make notes of that?
I try to, yeah.
I was really interested in 2016 because it's only being my second year at the track. I began to notice that the Boo Bird started coming out when you were doing so good. And I talked to you about it at a couple of different races about your decision if you were going to stay in the B mods or if you were going to move up. And you'd mentioned to me, you said, well, I think if I stay in the B mods that a lot of guys aren't going to like it. And that kind of stinks a little bit because maybe you wanted to take another year and get a little more comfortable with the B mod, but you're kind of being forced out by people who just, too bad, I'm winning. You know? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's kind of like that in every class. Like you got like Chris Abelson in the A mods. He wins a lot, but no one likes him. Mm-hmm. And he's not the cleanest driver, but he'll do anything to win. It's just a part of racing. Like Corey Dumper, I'm sure not a lot of people liked him racing the crate late models, but he's moving up to the supers. If you have one in every class, you just have to move up at some point, I guess.
Well, somebody like Corey Dumpert, though, Corey's got some history that was really ugly. He about ran me over on the track back in 2010.
Corey's got a little bit of a temper on him, but to your point of the same thing, Corey wins a lot. So immediately when Corey wins, I hear fans screaming, tech him harder, he's got to be cheating. But
you would have heard all the boos for the Kaziskis out at Sunset through the 70s and stuff. Jeff shaking his head, yes, he remembers all that. When somebody wins a lot, it don't matter what number's on the car or what their name is, they're not going to be a fan favorite.
Jeff and Jim, how much did you guys, and by the way, just to kind of continue the story along a little bit, Ryan, I think you've decided you're going A-Mod racing in 2017, right?
Yep.
What chassis did you buy?
We ordered a Rage car from Justin O'Brien.
Okay. How much did you guys contribute to that decision to either stay in the A-Mod or stay in the B-Mods or move up to the A's or late models?
It was a pretty easy decision.
Was it?
Yeah.
Why?
I watched him throughout the year, and I wouldn't let him move up unless he was ready.
Okay.
And I feel like he's ready.
Do you feel like you're ready, Ryan?
Yeah. I want to try it.
If you had the option to stay down in the obviously, I guess you did have the option to stay in the B mods, but if it had been a little bit more favorable, some of your competitors would have just shut their mouths and let you race what you wanted to race. Would you have stayed in the B mods another year?
No, I want to try something different.
You're ready to come up.
I think he accomplished everything he could right now in the B mods.
Well, I agree. I mean, there's not much more you can do with winning 2 NASCAR track championships and the state championship. I mean, that's pretty good.
Could have won
the National
Classic.
Yeah.
But how much did the crate motor? I'm going to assume, and maybe I shouldn't do that, but are you guys going to run an open motor or crate?
We are going crate.
How much did that enter into the decision to go to an A mod as opposed to a late model? If they would have just had open motors and A mod, still with the claim and the claim's still there, but there's just not that many open motors anymore.
To go to a late model, we talked about it. Me and him are very competitive. And we don't have.
Your dad's over here shaking his head. Are you that competitive?
No.
No, you're not that.
I'm easy going.
We don't like to see. I don't like to see him running 5th or 10th, and he don't. We just bark at each other. Mm-hmm. And we talked about it, and we couldn't afford a top 5 super late model. We don't have the funding for it, but we could afford a top 5 A mod. And
with a crate.
With a crate. And when IMCA gave the spoiler back to the crates, that was a no-brainer right there.
Yeah.
That was
Are you guys going to go ahead and do the quick change deal? I
Yeah,
mean, to me,
yes.
that was one of the bad decisions IMCA's made in the last couple of years, was putting that quick change in the A mods. But they did.
Do you
want to
come over to my house on Saturday morning and change gears for me?
The drivers obviously like it.
It's not that big a deal. I don't think. I used to change 12.
So, in other words, yes, he'll be over at your house on Saturday mornings.
I don't know if I can pick the pumpkin up anymore.
I think
But I could definitely undo the bolts, and I was great at pulling axles.
His only
Ask
requirement
Rick.
is a big cup of ice. He needs a cup of ice whenever he's going working anywhere.
Well, now that I got that thing going on, the cup of ice is my
So-
deal.
All right, so you're going A-Mod racing. What's your plans for your tracks? Are you going to stay at Corning in Nebraska? Or are you going to try to run some weekly IMCA races?
I don't know if our car's gonna be ready in time to make the first weekly night. We're gonna stay at I-80 when we can. If there's a special somewhere else, we'll travel off and try something different. I want to try new tracks. It'll help me as a driver.
Absolutely, yeah. It'll.
That's one thing that hurt. I mean, he really bugged us last year to travel more, but we kept having to remind him where he was in points, and we only had one car.
Yeah. I remember
And-
asking you that was it at the Cornhusker or was it at a later race it had been later because it was before Championship Sunday, so it must have, I can't remember what race it was, maybe the Fall Brawl, but you got sent to the back for some reason. I think you missed tech, and I came over and asked you, I said, why didn't you go out there for the feature?
Silver Dollar.
Okay, and you said because I only have one car and my chassis manufacturer went out of business,
Yep.
and if I wreck it, I'm done.
Yep.
So that's when I was like, oh, hey, okay, well, that's a good point. That's good logic. So, as far as again, just you're going to try to do more traveling rather than sticking to a track championship.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun traveling to different tracks last year. I think we went to Webster City, and
That's a nice facility.
yeah, that was something I didn't really expect. It had negative banking on the bottom, and then you go too high, it had negative banking. That was kind of a fun track. It took me a couple laps to learn, and
A couple of laps to learn. It had taken me a year.
and
I'm still
than that, Dan.
I'm still having trouble figuring out that one curve at I-80.
You're still trying to figure out.
By the way, when I say I-80, I mean Interstate 80. There's that big curve over there by 40. Anyways,
Dan takes a lot of time figuring out which door is the driver door, even though it's the same on every vehicle. That confuses
it
Dan from
looks
time to time.
different. It's all backwards. I get confused. Anyways.
yeah, and then we went to Stewart, Iowa, and then I've never been on such a fun track. It's probably the size of the Little Sunset behind I-80 with a lot of banking, and it got dry slick, and I think there was 40 B-mods there. It was a big show, and we passed a lot of fast cars, and we got up to passing for second with 2 laps to go, and then me and Llewellyn got together, which was kind of a bad deal, but I still had fun.
Yeah. What is there bucket list races that you want to try to hit? Races or race tracks?
There's a race in Farley, Iowa that pays $50,000. If I'm comfortable enough in the car, I'd like to try it.
When's that race?
It's in May, middle of May.
Remember, Jeff Ike was putting together a modified to
Yeah.
run some of those high-dollar races, so he was telling us about that because
When do you think your car's going to be ready?
Probably mid-April.
Okay. So not too far from now, but you've still got some stuff you're waiting on.
Yeah, I don't know. It's up in the air right now. We're just trying to figure out what he wants to build it.
What about sponsorships? I know that when I would walk through the pits at I-80, you had a cover on the back of your car. You had plenty of sponsors, but how active are you with going and finding sponsorships?
hey, Dad, I need more money.
Yeah. We're still looking right now. A lot of guys from last year is coming on, but it's so hard to get sponsors right now, especially product sponsors. I work for Precise Racing, and I talk to the owner sometimes, but there's not a huge market those companies can spend and give out parts.
Yeah.
Because racing's not a lot of people don't make a lot of money, so it's hard, and you kind of have to know the person to get the sponsorship. So
It's got to be a passion thing.
yeah,
You can't go out and sell it on, I'm going to put a bunch of people in your shop or in your store or this and that. It's got to be a passion thing.
yeah, it's kind of, you gotta have to little beg, and you just have to start a relationship and stuff. It's hard.
You know, there's a guy who owns a roofing company in town that if you just had a little bit more of an attitude, a little bit of a bite to you, I think he might sponsor you.
yeah,
I don't know if you've ever heard him. He's known as the Outlaw.
yeah,
I'm just kidding. I always love to try to find ways to spend Luke's money, which he thanks me every time he sees me with usually a finger in the air.
Except he doesn't write the radio show a check. That's the problem.
Stop
You keep
spending my money.
Yeah, you keep sending his money to the wrong place instead of us.
So your plans for 2017, it's not to win championships. It's not to win a lot of races. You want to get comfortable in this car first, right?
Yeah, I just want to see what the A-mods are about. I've never drove a 4-link car.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We'll see what happens, I guess, see how comfortable I am.
Well, like your dad was saying, you do a lot of reading on engineering and stuff. Did you ever figure out or read to the fact that a 4-link suspension is a drag race suspension, is what it's designed to do?
Yeah.
It's designed for nothing but forward bite.
Yeah.
It's divided. Somebody decided to cut a traction bar off, a ladder bar, decided to cut it and bolt the two ends different, and that's what started the 4-link suspension.
Jeff,
big drag race background, so.
Yeah.
What's going to be your role? Same thing as with his B-mod operation. Is he taking over more of the setups? What's your role this year?
Same thing, I think. We just work together. This is going to be a whole new ball game for both of us.
Because you got to learn it too now.
Yeah, we've been going to schools this winter, learning a lot, and learning that we could have been a lot faster in a B-mod after going to these schools now, because we understand a lot more.
Yeah. Jim, what about you? What's your role in the pits with Ryan? Do you get to have a role, or do you get to just be the fan?
What I usually do is I power wash the tires and clean up the trailer, and if he does get into a little bit of a traffic accident on the track, I will help straighten the body or build the body.
Okay.
He builds. We start out with a manufacturer body, and then he copies it, and he builds the rest of the bodies. So.
Got it. All right. This has been the Jenkinses. Guys, I appreciate you taking the time out of your night. It's great to have you join us. Look forward to seeing you around the tracks throughout the Midwest.
Yep.
We'll be back. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, in my short time in radio, this interview took the longest to put together.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I started. When's the first time I talked to you, Jeff?
Last
18
winter?
months ago?
Yeah.
I had every intention of sitting you guys down at the Cornhusker Classic, and I remember I got it. It was like a Saturday morning. I remember we finished at 2:30 in the morning, and I got home. I don't know, and got around and got cleaned up, and I think I fell asleep about 4, and I remember getting up at 9, and I was just like, I'm going back to bed. I am not going back out to the racetrack for 18 hours. We'll reschedule with the Jenkinses. But yeah, it was good. We're glad you guys were able to take time out of it, Ryan. You didn't have to take the whole week off of work, but I appreciate that.
No, it's fine.
Ryan, Jeff, Jim, guys, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll be back here in turn number 4 on the front stretch.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Welcome back to the show. Heading into turn number 4, just about ready to wrap this baby up. I want to say a big thank you to the Jenkins family. All 3 of them. 3 generations of racers came in. That was kind of fun to talk to them. Let's talk about the pickups contest. Last week we talked about we were trying to work out exactly how we were going to do it, because
we'd send emails to everybody.
If we were going to have people pay to be a part of the league, or if we were going to find a sponsor. Well, talking to some people, if we'd have had them pay, we'd have gotten into, with it being on the radio and being promoted through the radio, we're starting to dive into the DraftKings illegal gambling stuff, and that's a hotbed subject for a lot of states right now, especially where we broadcast in Nebraska. Over into Iowa, we probably would have been okay, but in Nebraska, we just can't do it. So our friend Rick Havenridge at Wealth Partners stepped up and said, I'll take care of any of the fees, any of the registration. So as it stands today, you are able to sign up right now, NASCARpoolsonline.com. And if you want to get involved in it, send us an email. I will send you the instructions for getting signed up. But the pool league name is FS Pick'em 17. And the code to get in is AM590. That's so that you can get involved in it. That's going to be the season-long contest, and we're also working on making sure that you can use the exact same site for the 5-week contests.
Correct. We've got some of our regular show sponsors are going to pitch in with Joe's Karting and Quaker Steak and some of these, and cover the fees that the website charges for those 5-week contests and such. Mm-hmm. Now, we're working with the designer of the website, We may end up going through 1 or 2 rule changes on when you can pick guys and the amounts you can pick, and we're working with him to see if we can keep our current rules or whether we have to adapt just a little bit. So there'll be more going forward on that.
What I really like about this is that it is very close. We had 2 rules that basically started from the very beginning when Andrew, Buddy, and I started doing this was you can't pick the same driver within 5 races, and you can only pick the same driver 3 times in the season. Some of those rules we may not be able to translate over to this, but the really nice thing is that you're able to see in real time who's picking who you've taken, how your stats are doing. You're able to grab some stats off the website, as well as, we had Chad on last weekend with fantasyracingtips.com, and he can help you out with some stats stuff if you subscribe to his site. But this website, this NASCARpoolsonline.com, I think it's going to be really nice because it's very close to the way we've done the contests in the past. Now it's just online, and instead of emailing me your pick and maybe I don't get it, or maybe I make a mistake and I got to go back and fix it later, or maybe there's some issues, this takes a lot of the human element out of it, which is something that I was really looking for in the off season, is to take the human element out of this contest so that there's a lot more information coming at you guys as far as who you've picked, who everyone else has picked, because there's a lot of strategy that goes back and forth with this, that if you come down to a contest between you and a couple other people at Homestead and you could see who they've picked, if you've got a 10-point lead, you can just pick the same driver they did, and you win the contest. Now you can see that. With our old system, you couldn't see that before the green flag dropped. So I think this is going to be great for us. It's going to be a little bit of a learning experience, a little bit of a growing pains, but I think this is very exciting. And I got to say a big thank you to Rick Havenridge for stepping up for that.
Yeah, like I said, Rick's doing us a huge favor, and Rick's a participant in the contest. Matter of fact, we got to decide whether, since he's a sponsor, whether he can even participate in the contest anymore.
See, and I'm sitting here saying, if there's so much transparency, because he doesn't have access to change the rules. I can't even change people's picks after green flag. Once the green flag waves, picks are locked. That's it.
Yeah,
if you
I don't have any problem with him participating.
I don't either, because I think there's even more transparency now of how everything's handled, because it's not me that's running the site. It's another company that's running it. So I don't have a problem with it. I'll have to check with the AM 590's promotion people to make sure there isn't any kind of legal issues with him doing it. But he's great for stepping up and doing that. And by the way, he'll be at the Daytona 500 party handing out stuff. So make sure you say thanks to him for helping us out. And like I said, we're working on some 5-week stuff. Once we get a price package put together, then we'll start to approach the sponsors about offsetting the cost of doing it. And we'll be doing 5-week contests a lot more this year on the same site. So you can submit your picks for 2 different contests through the same site.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
We got to wrap it up for today. We do appreciate everybody joining us. Make sure you listen next